Let's get start demo first. So this is same series of web API identity with authentication and authorization. So here in this here actually we have implement .NET web API using identity and this role, like role implementation, right? So how we can authorization, so that actually we have implement using this role. So what we have done were in this session, we have done actually we have the get roles, right? Whatever the user have that roles, so we can get it via endpoints. And then also get roles, whatever we have all the roles in our application, so we can get it from there. And also we have an post endpoint which we can add the roles. Suppose we don't have any add, or we don't have any roles, or we have to add some roles, so we can add it over here. And also we have the post endpoint which we can add the roles than particular user. So let me show you. So before uh, actually execute, first we have to get the token, right? So there is a two way we can get the first. You can previously actually we creating this user information. So you can go to the logins, try out, and there's a two way you can store in the cookies, and also itself also tokens also will work. Look, so let me call whatever that user, my user would be kkp, right, @gmail.com, and here my secret password, this is my password. Once I execute, I will get that token, right? So let me grab this token, copy this token, go top authentication and wearer and space, then token authorize. Now I am able to get all access all these things, right? So let me get first like user first, like let me show you here like how many roles we have. Like, so get execute, once execute, now see we have that, these are roles, right? Like HR roles, admins roles, finance roles, and this is a new roles, right? So these are we have. And also uh, what the particular user have that roles, how we can get that, simply you can get over here try out. And if you pass that your user email ID like this or whatever, you can implement, like you can edit the username as well. So execute. So once you scroll down, now see you are able to see you are getting two roles. Actually this particular user have two roles, so they actually you can get it like that. And now move it to next. For example, I want to add new roles, right? So for example, I want to add mediator role, right? So suppose I just want to add the mediator role, then execute. Now see I get 201. And if I want to verify, I can just get it this execute. I have to see like this, right? This is that role newly added, right? So like this. And finally, now user has only two roles, right, which we show, right? Execute. Now we have only just two role. What I want to do, I want to add that new role which we have added, right? So suppose I have added this role, so let me add this role to that particular user. So let me try out, add the role, and also that pass the user email ID. So what is my user email ID? @gmail.com, and execute. Once you execute, it's true, that means it succeed. And if you go back to our my this endpoint, get user by role, so definitely you are able to see this new role actually added, right? So like this way actually we can implement all that role information we have implement, so that we can use our authentication authorization in an upcoming session like Blazor or at any other application, like in a web application. We can consume this API and we can implement our authorization and authentication, right? So that's why we actually creating this first we have to implementing actually API. So this is done. So before implementation, I'm especially recommend go to my channel, which is .NET Real World Example, and you have to watch first this guy. So this is actually in previously we have to create it something like we have to create .NET Core API authentication with the identity, where actually you can see all that endpoint which is automatically provide that identity server, right? So that you can have to know first, right? So before implementation this, because this is the authentication part, and now in this session we'll cover that authorization part, right? And also we have github links, so you can get it from here as well, whatever we have done in previously. So that is repository, you can get it over here. And now we'll continue the same repository, same sample will continue forward, right? So first what I need to do, I have to just create one service so that I can get it the all the information of about the roles, and they show the as an endpoint. So what I can to do, simply go to that folder, right, and create a folder and just make it to services, and inside this services, what I need to do, I have to just create one service, that call is role service. Let me add one interface over here, interface, let me call it to role service, and add this role service over here, roles interface. Once it's created, now what I need to do, I have to create that all method, right, so which we saw in our demo. So first we'll get one up to create a get all roles, right? So this is one of the method which will provide the all the roles using this model. So as of now we don't have a models, so let me create this model as well. So copy this model and go to, or let me create a one model class, or just a view model, right? So let me create a model folder, and inside that let me create a model. So what is my model? My model would be like this role model, right? And inside this role model, what are the roles actually we have to return, right? So what are the object? Simply ID and name. I have to pass that ID and name, right? So let me add that this is ID as a GUID and name, because we store in our database that is actually storing GUID. So that's why I'm just adding this. And what I need to do further, go back to your interface and bring back that namespace. This is the namespace. So this is done. Now next we have to implement like get all users roles, right? So see, now another function feature will implement here. Whatever user have roles, that actually return by using their email ID or username, whatever you want. So it is best to actually unique things, email ID. So that's why I'm using this. And then third service will implement, that is called the add roles. Suppose I want to add, user want to add a new roles, right? So that user can just add the roles using that, passing that multiple roles. Like suppose user want to add multiple roles together, right? So that's why I'm using that multiple roles string array. And then now finally I want to create a one a service that is called an add user role, so that whatever a user, suppose initially they create a user but they does not have any roles, right? So if admin user or whatever user you want to allow, so they can add assign the role. So ideally admin also only can access to add the roles that particular user. So how we can add the roles? Using that email ID, whatever that user email, and their whatever roles we want to. So also here that multiple roles we can assign that particular user, right? So these uh, four service we have to create it, we have to implement. So let me create a concrete class of that role service. So copy this role service, go back to service, create a class, concrete class, where we'll implement, and simply let me inherit that role service and implement over here, right? So as of now that it is just creating a default implementation, but yeah, we'll implement one by one. So let me copy this and grab over here, right, so that we can implement one by one from the top. So first I will be implement get all roles, right? So how we can get all roles? It's very simple. Actually, in previous session, we have create authentication, right? And in authentication, we have that identity server also they provide in the identity server, which we configure in the program.cs file, right? So that we have to use over here to get the roles and users, everything we have to do over here, right? So first what I need to do, simply create a constructor, create a constructor, right? And here the create constructor, what I need to do, I have to inject that role manager. First I'll just inject the role manager, and see this role manager is coming from Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity, which will bring back, right? And then here identity, identity role, right? So that we have to add this object identity role inside this role manager, and just create a class, a variable, and just inject in this parameter, constructor, using that private field, like that, right? See, we have injecting, now we are able to use this guy. And then what I need to do, similar we have to use that user manager as well. So user manager, and pass it to identity, identity user, right? So this is another object which will provide that all user information. Also just create a variable, and similar fashion we have to do that, create a private property to assign inside this here, right? Let me bring back. So now we have that role manager things, and we have the user manager. So all the role information we can get from here, all the user information we can get from this user manager, right? So let me add, let me create actually first get all roles, right? So what I need to do, simply first I have to just create a variable, for example role, role list, role list, and here I have to just get that underscore role manager, and that we have the property of the roles. And inside these roles actually we can get all this property, right? So let me select, so that we have actually in these roles we have many properties, but we don't record all this stuff, we record only the few things, right? So that I can just select over here using this lambda expression, like this way. And new, whatever roles of model we have to create it, inside this role model we have to assign only this id. So id we can get from this id, and similar name I can get from this name. That's it. Like this way we can use it. Now see, there's a one mismatch, right? So what is the mismatch? Let me bring back, right? This here, see, it is a GUID, but it is as actually string, right? So we have to convert to this GUID. So how we can do that? Simply use GUID parse and pass it to that string value. Simply it will convert to our there, right? So now we have a role model which is a iQueryable, right? And what I need to do, simply iQueryable to I actually return to list object, right? So what I need to do, simply make it to list, and that's it, right? And then simply you have to return that role list. And also see, we are using a it is a role list, right? So see, it is a synchronize, we actually using task, so we have to use that asynchronize, right? So that's done. Now it is completely for the get all roles. So this is a very pretty much simple code, right? We can get the roles. Now moving to forward to get user roles, right? So how we can get that particular, suppose user have multiple roles, so how can get that, right? So that we have to implement over here. So first of all what I need to do, let me call this user manager. So because we have a email IDs, right? So based on the email ID I need to get actually user information, right? So first I'll have to add where user got underscore user manager, and it have one function find why the email, and find the name, whatever things, right? So yeah, we can use that email, and here we can get the user identity user. Let me add this await. And what I need to do next, now I got this user identity, right? So here user manager should have that particular user information, right? So user dot have get roles, right? So there's a one method. In this method actually you are able to see it is expecting a no identity user. That's why actually we have to get first identity and then simply pass it to that identity over here, so that whatever roles in the particular user based on this identity they will return back, right? So what is the return type? It is a I list over there, right? So let me store as a variable over here simply user roles, right? And also it is a asynchronous, so you can use await. And now finally we have to return to this, so use return user roles dot to list. Why I'm adding to list? Because see, this is a simple list but it is returning I list, so this you can convert to list, so it will make it to I list to list, right? That's why I make it. So now this also done. Simply we can get that user roles by passing that email ID, right? And now we have to add the roles, right? So suppose I don't have any roles in my application, so user want to add no use not user, so admin user only want to add that particular roles or multiple roles, right? So how we can do that? There is some tricks actually. So here what I need to do, simply whatever roles I have, let me iterate through for each loop, right? And here one by one role actually we have to add, right? So what I need to do, I have to just call that role manager dot role exist, because first we have to check like if any role is exist in our system or not, so that we have to check. So here wait, and that will be true or false, right? So let me wrap it for if condition, and if it is not exist, right, then we have to add. So let me put a one condition here. If it is not exist, then I want to add, otherwise I don't want to add, right? So here how we can add it, simply again using the role manager and dot create a sync, right? In this method, see, the create a sync, adding passing that identity of the role, and then you can uh, add this in your roles tables, right? So how we can add this, add over here and then new, create that identity role, and inside this role, see, there is a two overload method over here. One is without parameter and another one is like that role's name, right? So you can just pass simply whatever your roles, so you can just pass it from here, right? And also make it to await, and that's it, right? So now whatever role a user has passed, so that we have just check, okay, if it is not exist then we have to add, if it is exist then we have to skip that part, right? And then finally what I need to do, I just actually return whatever role we have added, so that we can return. Suppose we have sent five roles but three roles added but two roles is not added, so whatever the roles we have added we can simply return. So how we can do that? Simply we can create a no one output or one result over here, right? And in this result we can add one by one whatever role we have added, right? So let me add one by one for whatever role added, so I just add it over here in this role list, and finally we can return to the list, right? Like this way actually we can implement add roles, all the roles, right? So this is also done. Now the last one is add roles that particular user, right? So suppose user has a one the kkp at the gmail.com, and I want to add that admin roles or hr roles and particular roles also, so that we have to implement over here. So it is also very simple. Again we have to just find that user, right? So let me copy that guy, which already done over here, find that user based on the email address, right? So let me add the over here. So here, okay, also we using await, so using that async method over here, and pass to that user email, right? Now we have the user identity, right? And then how we can do that? So here also we have to add some tricks, right? Suppose user send some roles which is does not exist in our main roles, right? Whatever we have roles, right? Suppose I in our system we have 5 roles, and user send some roles which is not exist in our table. So what I can do in this way, we can skip those roles, right? So how we can do that? Simply I have to create one another method which we can actually tell, okay, this user these roles exist or not, right? So let me create that method. For example, let me create a one method over here, and that method simply I'm just creating and returning that list of string and exist role or not, right? Whatever exist role they will returning back, right? Based on that, whatever roles be user has sent. And here again, simply I have just created one object over here, right? And you can just you can just use another approach also, but here I just show you one of the easiest approach. So here again, what I need to do, simple I just use the for each loop, and in this for each loop whatever roles user send, again we have just checking if it is role exist, right? If it is exist, then we have to add. If it is not exist, then we have to not add, right? So that this way I can just filter and whatever that role is exist in our system, right? And then simply return back to your exist role list, right? Like this way we can achieve, and these things we have to call over here, right? So I need to call this guy to this, and now I have passed the roles, and we are existing whatever existing role we are get it over here. And now we have to check if user should not be null, right? Suppose whatever the identity user should not be null, then we have to add it should not equal to null. And one more condition should be over here. Suppose user send 5 roles, and existing roles we have match in our existing role, that is not match, right? So there is a mismatch, right? So the user role whatever they send and whatever we have, so there is a mismatch. So that also we can taken care over here, like if whatever existing roles, right? So let me check over here, existing roles count equal to whatever the users and roles, that count should be matched, right? So then we have to okay tell okay now we can add it, right? So let me length over here, and if it is not matched, then you are not able to add, right? Simply it should be true or false. So this will actually true or false, right? Let me return false, otherwise in this case is false. But yeah, in this case we simply can call one user manager to add role method, and in this add role method, see there is a two expected two parameter over there, that is a first at user identity which is coming from here, right? And then other one is like existing roles, means whatever roles I numerable as roles, right? So that I can get it from here, right? That's two things you will have to pass. It will it will create it and return back to as a result, right? So let also we can just add it over here, assign dot succeed, actually it is written true or false. If it is successfully add it, so it will true, or it is not, then it will false, right? So let's add it over here like that. Now see, all the implementation, all the service implementation has been done, right? So now we can able to consume this service in our controller. So go back to your controller, and here what I need to do, simply I need to add a role controller. So add a role controller, API controller empty, add, and add it to this guy, make it name is role, right? So it is a role controller. Now what I need to do, need to create a constructor, and simply I have to inject that service, and I role service, right? So this is my service, let me inject, and create an instance and inject to our constructor. Now we are properly injected, but yeah, we have to register this service in our program.cs file. That I will do in later, but yeah, as of now we are good. Now we have to implement all that endpoints. So first endpoint would be our get endpoint, right? So get all the roles. So this is a get endpoint and get all the roles, make it that name. And what I need to do, I have to just simply create a method, action method, which will actually passes that user email, right? This is actually roles, they will return that particular user, right? So this is a user role. So whatever user, this is the user, and how many roles is there, so they will just call this service role service as this, get user roles method, right? Which will accept and that email id and return back to over here, right? So this is a one. Now second, uh, also one thing actually we have to decorate here, like that is actually part of authorization, right? So that also you have to decorate, because if you not allow that attribute, so definitely you can get some error and all, because there's some issue, right? Because authenticate after authentication you can get that all the information, user information and role information, everything. What you need to do, simply decorate is authorize, right? So in this authorize also you can just specify what user actually they can get this, what user actually allow to access this endpoint, right? So allow this all the user, right, over here. So how we can allow that multiple user, you can just pass it to use the roles, and then you can pass it to admin, so that it can be only accessed by the admin. But if you want to multiple user, so how we can add, simply comma, right? And you can use that other roles as well, like user roles, right? And whatever roles that you can, a user can get access this particular rules, right? So this is actually authorization part which we're trying to cover here. Now moving forward, another one, like we want to get all the roles, right? So let me create before that, right? Because this is a get role, so all the roles we have to show to user, whatever admin user only, or whatever user you want, right? So that we can show you. And simply I have to create another endpoint, like see, it's a get roles, and calling that role service and call that get roles, right? And simply return back. And also we have to decorate here, like authorize, and what roles we have to provide here, that only I think so that is fine for only admin, because roles only can have access for admin only, but as per requirement we can add it more, right? So now we have done for get roles and get user roles, right? So now moving forward to another one, like if we want to add some roles, so how we can add the roles, right? So again, http roles, and here what I need to do, I have to just create another action method which will add actually roles um, based on this particular roles, right? So here again, let me add a result, or just using that add role or user role, right? User role, and here underscore role service dot, you will get that method add roles, right? And you can pass that roles object. Simply once you get, so you will, it will return a object, right? Simply you can just decorate that is that, right? If it is, or one condition also you can just decorate over here. So if it is fail, so you should be return bad request, right? So result, or just whatever user role dot count, or it is missing something, right? So we have to await, because it is asynchronized, so you have to get the decorate with this await. And then if it is count equal to 0, so that means there is some issue, right? And in this case what you can do, simply I have to pass uh, the bad request, right? Let me add that bad request, right? And this is done. let me decorate formatting properly. Now add roles also fine, right? So it is simple calling that service, and service will do everything, and simply the result return back to result. And now the last one is our add roles for the particular user, right? So let me call or let me create that. And before that, actually we have to decorate as well this guy. So authorize roles, right? Authorize roles and what would be the roles for is, because admin only can allow to add the roles, so that's why we can decorate only this admin, right? So that's why we have add. And similar, uh, this endpoint also we have to decorate for this, add roles, that also only admin can do that, right? So like that, and create a one method, right? We are actually endpoint, we can add the roles, like add user roles. So let me decorate this. So this is that one. Here add roles, right? And add roles expect, the model, right, which we can pass it from the user, and user can send, that email ID and roles, both things, like two things, right? So that's why we can create as a form body, we can actually accept the that information from that form body. That's why we have to require in a one model, right? So let me create a one model, go to the model class, a model folder, create a class over here, model object, add that model. And in this model, simply what I need to do, I have to just create user email and their roles, right? So user will send that user, which user if they want to add the roles and what are the roles, right? So go back to over here. Now bring back that namespace, and it is coming from this. And then what I need to do again, I have to call that where result, and in this result underscore role service, what is the our method which we have created, add user role async, right? And in this, simply we have to pass add user dot user email, as well as that add user dot roles, simple. And then we have to decorate, it is a synchronized method, so we have to decorate await. And finally again, we can put one conditions, if it is success, so it is not success, so it is bad request, right? And if it is success, simply we can pass the http code, it is successfully execute, and inserted with this 201, right? Like this way. Now see, now our endpoints also ready, right? With this authorization, so all the endpoint actually authorize with these roles, right? Only these roles have that particular user, so then user can access that. I'll show you in a example once you're testing, right? So once it's done, now there is some issue actually. See, I have just created this service, right, and which is dependent on this controller. So I have to resolve the dependency. So go back to program.cs file. Here we have to add that services, right? So after this, right, so builder dot services dot add scope, and then we can pass I role service and their implementation as well, right? So this is one setting, and one more setting, try to implement authorization. So you have to add one more things in here, right? So after this identity the user, what you need to do, simply you can just add roles, right? So this is a add roles, and here you can pass identity roles which we are using, right? So that you have to do, and simply add this, that's it. These two things actually you have to cover, like this is, you have to add the add roles because we are trying to authorization, and we have newly create this service which is dependent, so we have to resolve the dependency. then we are good to go, right? So let me check our DB. What is the DB? Go back here. Yeah, it is a identity, a small identity DB, right? So let me run this application. Hopefully it should be run now. See, it is running. And also this is a role controller on which we have to create these roles, right? And before proceeding, actually I want to see user is exists. So my, yeah, this guy, identity DB, right? So let me check one more time what is our DB name. So this is our DB name, a small identity API DB, right? So small identity API DB, yeah, this guy. So let me check, let me create a new instance, and here what I can do, these are three tables actually, which have the information. So first, this is a user information. So how many user we have? I have a one user in this TB, right? And any roles this particular user, there is a no roles, right? And also any assign these roles over here, absolutely not, because we don't have any roles. So it is not possible to add, because this is a reference entity from this and this, right? So what I can do first, uh, go back to your endpoints over here. First, actually I just create a token, right? So let me create a token uh, to access. Neither, I'll show you before, without token it is accessible or not, right? So let me try execute. Once you execute, definitely you will get this 401, right? And this is not for this all the endpoints, right? Let me try something. If you execute, you will get 401. You will get the 401 because you are not authorized this endpoints, which is decorate with authorization, right? So that's why what we need to do, we have to generate a token. How we can generate a token? It is very simple. Go back to this endpoint which we have to create it in last session, login endpoint, and here you have to just pass your kkp at the rate gmail.com, and if I remember correctly, password, this should be a password. Yeah, it is correct. Now I'm getting that token. So what I need to do, simply copy the token, is a bearer token, right? And go back to authorization. Here just you have to pass wearer, wearer, and pass the token, and now I am able to access, right? So let me check first, like is their existing endpoint is working fine? Yeah, now it is returning this, right? And go back to your roles. So where is roles? Now see, these are roles, right? So first, as of now, let me check there is any roles or not, right? There is a no roles. Also, this endpoint, see, this token actually generated for admin user, so that's why it is giving 403. This is important, you have to understand, right? So let me go back. Now go back to your endpoint. Where is my endpoint? Yeah, this is my endpoint. See, I decorate this role only accessible with only the admin user, right? So as of now, I'm just creating a token that is not actually admin role. That's why I'm not able to access this. So in this case, what you need to do, actually initial level, once your database actually created this application, you have to add admin user along with the admin roles. After that, you can able to do that, right? So what I can do in this case, simply I can go over here and check this guy. So this is a role table. So what I need to do, first I need to assign the one roles in here, so that I can add this role in that particular user. After that, once I create a one admin user, then I can able to use the multiple creation and then assign the user, right? So one default admin user we required. So let me insert into the tables. This is that query. Let me bring back over here, right? So we have to add id and name. So let me try to execute this. Now see, id and name executed. Now if you execute, now we have a admin role, right? Now trying to assign internally first that user and id, right? So what is my user and roles? So let me try. See, this is my user id and this is my user role. So the one more entry actually we have to record in this user role table, right? So let me try to insert that one also. Insert, right? So user id and then roles, right? So let me bring back this guy over here. This is my user id, right? And then this is my role. So what is my roles? Role id, this is my role id, right? So now go back, add it over here. Now try to insert. Now we are good to go, right? Let me check now all these three tables. Now simply we just add admin role and this admin role assigned to over here, right? So now if I generate the token, so definitely this token, this user have this admin roles, then user can allow to access, right? So go back to over here and now regenerate the token. Let me log out that first, close that, go back to login and try to generate the token. So now I'm able to get the token. Now this token, just copy this token and go back to your authorization. Here just set that authorization error, pass that your token, authorize, go back. Now it should be accessible all this endpoints. Now execute. Now see, I'm getting that whatever roles I have as of now one roles, right? So that's why it is returning only admin roles, right? And which their id as well. And if I try to that particular let me just pass it to the invalid things. So see, if it is invalid things, so I'm getting that error because user not found, right? So what I need to do, simply whatever my user, correct user, let me find that user. And once I get this, so now I'm able to see this is assign only one admin role, right, over there. Simply this way, like I want to add that more roles, right? Now as of now I have only one roles in this roles table. Now I have admin user. Now I can add anything, right? So let me add, suppose HR, or let me add one more, for example uh finance, right? Finance, and let me execute this guy. Once you execute, now see, two roles has been added that we can verify using endpoint as well as database. So let me find first the endpoint. Now see, I have the three roles which just we have added. And if I go back to db, once you execute, now I have that three roles, right, which we recently added two. So like that. And also suppose I want to, as of now this is one user which this user only assign that one roles, right? Let me add one more roles, right? So what roles I want to add? I want to add that HR also. Let me copy these roles, go back to here, pass this role as a HR, right? And pass that username, for example kkp the red 123. And here if you execute, that role should be added. Now it's got 400. Let me figuring out what is the issue. Okay, yeah. So see, I'm just passing wrong username, that's why it's getting a 400. That is expected, right? So what I need to do, simply pass that correct email, right? Username gmail.com, it is my correct email. And once I execute, now it's got true. If I get that execution over here, for example this guy, right? So once I execute, now it's have two roles, right? And go back to db, it should be a two roles, right? See, this one user has a two roles, right? So like this way actually you can authentication and authorization, right? So it is a nice things actually for this before proceeding our upcoming session for the Blazor and all the web application, how can authentication and authorization. So first we have to make sure our web API actually authenticate and authorization. So that I am using normally bearer token, but yeah, an upcoming session also will do with using JWT authentication and authorization, right? So but yeah, initial level it is fine how we can, you know, authentication authorization using the identity, because it is a initial level. So that's why I just created this session. And one more thing, actually we have to do this code, right? Because every subscriber actually asking actually we at the repository and all. So what I need to do, I just add this repository for your using purpose. So let me stop this, let me cancel that, stop this, and add this repository in my GitHub, and name would be our repository GitHub link, right? And let me create a push. So now we are good. So that's all, and have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share.